Chapter 16. Sarah and I struggled in the rough conditions, even though Chev showed up almost every single day. Chev said it was big news that Sarah and I were missing, and it was all he and Rave could do to keep it quiet that we were hiding in the mines. It was hard on me because Sarah was very affectionate, and all I could think about was that she might be my frickin' cousin. Chev told me that my parents were under investigation because of the body that was found in their house. Chev told me that my parents had not been arrested because the police department didn't have the proof that they wanted. Plus, they had a warrant out for my arrest because Sarah's dad was doing his best to have me picked up. Chev showed up to the mine at about 6 p.m., and it was already dark. He mentioned to me that he wanted to speak to me alone. I turned and told Sarah that I'll be right back. We won't be too long. "Hey, Ellis, Rave's been looking into a few things about your family, and he's given me some fairly disturbing information." According to the article he read, Grandpa Page and Sarah's grandma had a fairly torrid affair, and she became pregnant. Once she was knocked up, there was no hiding it from Grandpa Ames. Mary eventually had the baby, who is Sarah's father. It was such an embarrassment that the rumor is that Grandpa Ames had them both killed. They also suspected the son, who is Beau's father. Oh, holy crap, Sarah is my cousin. Ellis, you've been dinging your own cousin? You're way ranker than I could ever be. I don't want to ever hear you say I have no class again. Does the article say who killed them, Chev? Supposedly Grandpa Ames, or the son, hired a group that's called Remedy to do away with them both. Nobody really knows how the system works, but you can have someone killed and there's no way that it can be tied back to you. The article's just speculation, but I remembered that you mentioned Remedy, and they also mentioned the son is the possible killer. Didn't a cop say something about Remedy, and so did Mr. Ames? I looked off in deep thought and mumbled, "Yes, I did." "Chev, did you know that Sarah might be pregnant with Beau's baby?" "You guys had a threesome? And you didn't tell me about it?" "No, you ass. She slept with Beau before me." "Oh, well, Ellis, that may not be such a bad thing because then you don't have to take the responsibility for the little rugrat." "Listen, Chev, I can't just walk away from this like it never happened. Plus, I'm not sure if the baby's mine or not. Mr. Ames told me he'd have me taken care of if I didn't stay away from Sarah. What if he's the one setting me up, just like Grandpa did?" "Do you think, Chev, that Remedy is what he's talking about?" "Well, Ellis, I bet you're dying to find out." Chev laughs hard. "Chev, it's impossible to have a conversation with you." "All right, I'll be serious." Chev lowers his eyebrows with a serious look on his face and then bursts out laughing. "Listen, I know you find this hilarious, Chev, but I'm trying to save my life here. Ellis, I'm trying to help you as well, but you're so hung up on this girl that you're not willing to look in the directions that might be a possibility." "All right, Chev, I'll pay closer attention, even if it points in Sarah's direction. You know, Chev, I still haven't ruled out Rave." "Ellis," Sarah called from the cave, "where are you?" "I'll be right there, Sarah," I yelled back. "All right, Ellis, I'll be back in a day or so to check on you. Ellis, remember what I said about Sarah? And I would sleep with one eye open if I were you." Chev laughs. I just smirked at Chev and walked back to the cave. "What was that all about?" Sarah asked. Chev was keeping me up on all the latest news around town, but not much going on. I guess they had Beau's funeral, but most of the talk was about where you and I were. With a serious tone in my voice, I told Sarah that we need to talk. "It's just a matter of time, Sarah, before they catch up to us, and I'm going to be in big trouble." "Why would you be in big trouble, Ellis?" "Well, to start, I'm being set up so it looks like I'm the one that killed Clarice and Beau. Second, everyone's saying that I'm holding you against your will." "What? Why would anybody be saying something like that, Ellis?" "Well, because your dad's putting the word out there that it's me. I think he's trying to hide something or make something go away, and I think it's more than you just being pregnant. I think it has something to do with your grandfather and your grandmother. What would my grandparents have to do with this, Ellis? Well, they had an illegitimate son, and that's your father, Sarah. I think he has always been upset about his real mom and dad being murdered. Plus, with me being your cousin, I think he's trying to hide the fact that we're going to have a two-headed baby. Sarah laughs really hard. What's so funny, Sarah? Two-headed baby, she belts out. Ellis, we are not cousins. How do you know that we're not cousins, Sarah? Ellis, I was adopted from an orphanage when I was very young. There's no possible way I'm your cousin. Oh, that is such a relief knowing that we're not cousins. Ellis, is that why you've been so distant every time I try to be affectionate with you? I put my head down in shame. Yes, it is. You know, Ellis, some of this is starting to make sense to me, and I know where I bet we can find a lot of these answers. Where, Sarah? Well, my dad used to keep a journal that he would write in every day, and it has all sorts of secrets in it. How do you know that, Sarah? Well, because he told me. But he would always joke with me that if I ever read the book, he'd have to kill me. And then he'd laugh like he was joking. Where does he keep the book, Sarah? I'm not exactly sure, but our basement might be a good place to start. He seems to spend an awful lot of time there. My dad always kept a padlock on the door leading down to the basement, and I was forbidden to go in because he said he kept official police stuff in there. I never wanted to go in there because it was dark and had a funny, nasty smell. What do you mean it had a nasty smell? Well, kind of like it did in your house in your bedroom, but not as bad. Sarah, that was a dead person you smelled in my room that day. That was a dead person? Are you sure, Ellis? Sarah, I hate to break it to you, but I have a ton of experience with dead people these days, and I know what I saw and smelled. Who was it? I try to answer Sarah, but Sarah winces. Oh! Ow! Felt like a pain in my stomach. What do you mean, a pain in your stomach? It's gone now, Ellis. I think maybe I had a contraction. I think, Ellis, we have to try to find that book to get some answers. I think you're right, Sarah. When do you think would be a good time to go there, Sarah? Well, my dad usually works the grave shift, and that would allow us a chance under the cover of darkness to sneak in and try to find the book. I'll have Chev bring us down the next time he's here. Sarah and I sat around for the rest of the day, and I was holding most of my hopes on the fact that we could find the book and that it would supply me with some concrete answers about what was happening. Chev showed up to the mine about 6 p.m., and I filled him in on our plan on what the book could mean to us. Chev left with the agreement that he'd return tonight at about 11:30 p.m. Sarah and I readied ourselves by putting on any clothes we had that would be great for sneaking around undetected. Sarah was complaining more and more about stomach pains and contractions, as we called them. I didn't know a darn thing about this whole baby thing, but I suspect I was going to learn very quickly. Chev has always arrived right on time. Sarah and I jumped into the car and began driving to Sarah's house. I had my hopes pretty high that this book would lead to something that I could use, or at least to help me understand this thing a bit more. As we drove, Chev asked if we had heard the latest news. No, how would I hear that, Chev, if I didn't hear it from you? I guess you're right, Ellis. Anyway, I guess someone dug up Bo Mather's body and took it from the cemetery. Wow, that's strange. Unless someone's trying to hide something. Well, Ellis, I guess Mather's family was trying to have a deeper investigation into his death because the police said there wasn't a clear indication that there was foul play. They were making a big deal out of this on the news and in the paper, and then his body was gone. Now, of course, they think it was you, Ellis. Me? That's the most ridiculous thing ever. You know it wasn't me because I was stuck up in the hills. I know that, Ellis. We pulled up on Sarah Street and it was dark and vacant. Luck was actually on our side. 2 street lights by the house were out, affording us a little more cover when we tried to enter. I could hear a dog bark and that was alerted to our presence. I told Chev to wait outside in the car and to honk if anyone came home. Sarah said that the side door to the house was always unlocked because they lived on a fault line, which caused the house to shift, not aligning the door or enabling it to be locked. Sarah and I made our way to the side of the house. I reached my hand over the gate, feeling around for the latch. It was a tough find and a prickly endeavor with a rose bush growing over the top of the fence. I opened the latch and started to push the gate open. The gate squeaked like the front door of a haunted mansion. I tried to open the gate slower. It just prolonged the fact that someone was opening the gate. I could kind of see through the man door on the side of the house, and there was an overhead kitchen light in the hood on, shining down on the stove that was just bright enough to light the area slightly. I looked in and a flash of silhouette passed by the lighted area. I quickly put my hand across Sarah and gently pushed her against a wall out of sight. I whispered in her ear, "Someone's in the house. I thought your dad wasn't home." I could hear the footsteps getting closer to our door. The side light outside flipped on and the door flung open. Sarah and I crouched down as I didn't know what else to do because there wasn't time to get out of the gate. My heart was beating 100 miles an hour. That is until I focused and realized it was Chev. "Chev, what in the hell is wrong with you? Can nobody stay where they're asked to? Ellis, sitting in the car is boring. I need to be a part of this adventure. Besides, the front door was unlocked." "All right, let's get moving and find this book. Sarah, where do you think we should look for the book?" "We could start in my dad's room, and also the basement." "The basement?" I questioned. "What homes in California have a basement?" "Well, we didn't, but my dad had it installed when we moved in, and no one but nobody was allowed in there for any reason. We just figured it was for official police work." "I say, let's start with the basement." Chev exploded with, "Good idea, Ellis." We walked over to the door and it had a latch and a padlock. "Great. Now what do we do?" Chev reached in his jacket and pulled out a crowbar. I shook my head in disbelief. "Chev, you come prepared, don't you?" "Yes, I do," he said enthusiastically. Chev put the bar under the latch and easily pulled the latch right out of the wood. Voila! Chev grabbed the handle and opened the door. All 3 of us looked down the stairway into the darkness. I looked on the wall for any kind of switch that would turn on a light. Sarah said, "I think the light's in the middle of the room on a string. My dad always walks down a few stairs and then turns on the light." "Oh, hell, we have to walk down there and find the light?" "Ellis, you need to quit being such a chicken. You know, Chev, the last time you did this, you got hit in the head with a shovel, so I'll err on the side of caution. I'll go first then if you want to act like a little girl." Chev started down the steps. The further down we got, the less we could see. I waved my hand in front of my face and I could see nothing. "Chev, have you found anything yet?" Chev didn't answer. "Chev!" Boom! Chev jumps and grabs my arms. I jump back, letting out a feminine screech. "Ellis, you are the biggest chicken shit ever. Chev, knock that crap off." I was a bit embarrassed because I knew Sarah was hearing all of this. "It's all right, Ellis. I'm scared too," said Sarah. "I think I have something, Ellis." Chev pulled the string and a dim light lit up the damp basement. It was still pretty tough to see anything well. I could see a couple of workbenches, and on them was mostly tools, or what looked to be boxes. I picked up a box, and it was filled with hefty garbage bags and a roll of black duct tape. "All right," I instructed. "Let's start looking for the book. Each of us takes a corner, and holler out if you find something." This basement had a very strange design to it. The back walls had an overhang that protruded into the room. There were probably 4 or 5 feet under each overhang, which meant that I would have to climb on my hands and knees under them to make sure the book wasn't under there, which of course I wasn't thrilled about that. It was impossible to see anything under the overhang, so I had to basically look by sliding my hands on the ground. "Sarah, I'll look under your side." I didn't want to take any chances with her so pregnant. Ellis, I found something. Where are you, Chev? I followed his voice. Listen, Chev said. Chev knocked on the ground with his hand, and it was obvious that he was hitting wood. Help me dig, Ellis. I bent down and started moving dirt away from the wood. My goodness, son, the father interjected. Did you find the book? Father, you're acting like you're at a suspense thriller or something. Well, you have to admit, this is kind of like a thriller. Only you know who lives and ends up in a slammer. True, but you said there's more to the story. I did, and I'd like to get on with the story. Ellis, does the book hold the answers and you never found it? Father, I'll get to that if you'll let me. The father interlaces his fingers and puts them on his knees as if he's ready to listen. Chev and I continue to dig and uncover the board. Here, give me your hands, Ellis. Chev moved my hands at the edge of the board, and then he instructed me to pull up on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. We pulled the board up, which actually had hinges on one side like a door. Dude, I think we found a trap door. I could hear the latch clank when we opened the door, but it wasn't locked. I had an eerie feeling about what this was used for. Chev barked to Sarah, we need a light. I think I only have a lighter in my purse, if that'll work. Sure, let me have it. Chev flicked the bic and held it to the entrance. I could see stairs leading down into a self-made room. It looked like someone had dug it out with a shovel or something. I don't know what came over me, but I boldly told Chev, let me go down. Whoa, listen to you, Chev said. Chev let go of the lighter and the flame went out. Here, you're going to need this. Chev handed the lighter to me, and I could tell that the end was very hot from burning so long. I blew on the end trying to cool the thing down, but it didn't help at all. I struck a spark and relit the lighter and held it down toward the hole. I looked at Sarah. Well, here I go. I bravely smiled and started to walk down the steps. I could see a rat on the bottom step, but I kept going. The room was much bigger than I even thought it might be. In the back of the room there was a small table and chair, and what looked like a book. I walked right over and picked it up. On the cover of the book it said in bold red letters, Remedy. This was it. I knew it. I grabbed the book and got the hell out of the hole. I got it, I proclaimed. Let's get the heck out of here. Chev and I closed the door on the floor and covered it with dirt as much as possible. We then made our way back into the house, closing the basement door. The latch was broken, so there's no going back on that one, but it seemed like the right thing to make it look as normal as possible. We all looked at each other. Someone's home, Sarah said. The side door, I whispered. Let's go out the side door. We hurried and closed the door behind us. I could hear the opening to the front door to the house. I could also hear that stupid dog starting to bark outside as if it was aware of us again. The gate was already open, so we snuck out and walked across the street looking at the house for any sign of anyone. The police car was in the driveway. Sarah whispered, That's not my dad. His car is 99, not 1044. Maybe someone saw us and reported it to the police. We walked and got into Chev's El Camino and drove off towards the mines. I was trying to look in the book, but it was just too dark in the car for me to really make anything out. I could see that there were Polaroid pictures and a lot of writing in the book. We drove to the mine, and the anticipation was killing me because I wanted to know what was in the book. We finally arrived at the cave, and Chev dropped us off. Hey, Ellis, I gotta get back because I'm supposed to be grounded. Thanks, Chev, for your help. I hope you don't get into too much trouble over this. It'll be fine. See you guys tomorrow so I can hopefully find out what's in the book. Sarah and I walked over to the mine, and Sarah was very tired, I could tell, so she went straight for the blanket and lay on her side. Within minutes, she was asleep, and I just stood there and looked at her. She looked like an angel to me. I was tired too, so I lay down behind her to comfort her, and soon I was sleeping. I didn't wake up till the next morning, and I was actually pretty rested. Sarah still laid there asleep, and I sat up against the wall and grabbed the book to start looking through. I rubbed my palm against the cover and the writing, Remedy. I was hesitating to open the book for what I might or might not see, but I also knew that it could answer a whole lot of questions. I put my fingers on the inside of the thick cover and opened the book. Welcome to the freedom of hell and all that goes with it. I was trying to soak this in and get a grasp of what I was holding in my hand. This was a death diary or a guest book. I turned to the second page titled Remedy Rules. It only said that fees must be paid in advance and that Remedy must never be talked about. All violations of policy will result in immediate death. The next pages were jammed with Polaroid pictures of people, each with a person next to them, sometimes more than one. I didn't recognize most of the people. I flipped the page and looked through pictures, and again, I didn't know anybody. I could hear that Sarah was waking up. She yawned and stretched a bit, sitting up on one arm. Sarah looked over her shoulder. "Good morning, Ellis," as she smiled. "Good morning to you, Sarah. How do you feel?" "I feel fine." "Hey, are you looking through the book?" "Yes, but I can't make sense of it yet. I think it has something to do with paying to kill someone." "No, my father wouldn't be involved in something like that." I turned the page and I immediately wished I hadn't. The picture was Mathers lying on the ground, obviously dead, and I could see someone kneeling down by his side, but I couldn't see their face. They were almost in the picture like Mathers was a dead deer or something, kind of a sick trophy picture. I could also see a high-powered slingshot on their arm. It clicked that this is probably how Clarice was killed. She probably never heard him coming. "What are you thinking, Ellis?" Sarah could see that I was in a deep thought process. "Well, I'm stunned at how many people there are in this book, and people on the news that they reported just up and disappeared." I turned a page and my heart sunk. It was a picture of Rave, but the space next to him was blank. Rave's picture was on the killer's side, and there was no photo on the victim's side of the book. Again, Sarah asked if I was thinking. "I'm thinking we stumbled onto something much bigger than us, Sarah." "Can I look at the book, Ellis?" Reluctantly, I handed her the book, and she started to look through it. "Ellis, most of these people are cops that work with my dad." I can remember them saying a tough part of the job was watching people that deserved punishment walk away without any kind of price to pay for their crime. Sarah let out a loud shriek. "What, Sarah?" I crawled over by her. Sarah just stared at the book and didn't respond. I looked and couldn't figure it out. Finally, Sarah quietly responded. "That's my dad, and that's my mom." Took me a minute to see that it was her dad because he was so much younger, and I took her word for it about her mom. I paused, and about the same time Sarah and I could hear a car coming up the 2-lane dirt road. I rolled over and peeked out looking at the car. It was Rave. "Sarah, hide the book. I don't want Rave to see it." I walked out and Rave smiled at me through the car window. I could see right through that smile. I bet he wants to put one right in the back of my head. Rave climbs out of the car and says, "Ellis, we have a problem. I need you to come with me back to town." "Why in the hell would I do that, Rave?" "Well, because the cops have Chev, and they say you have something of theirs. They want it back or Chev doesn't see tomorrow." "What would that be, Rave, that I have of theirs?" "How should I know, Ellis? I'm just telling you what they told me." "Don't give me that crap, Rave. You know what's going on here." "I've read the book, and I know your picture's in there." Rave's eyes got much bigger. "Ellis, this thing is way bigger than you and I." "Well, then start talking, Rave, because I'm losing my patience. I haven't killed anyone yet, but I'm about to." "You wouldn't, Ellis." "Why wouldn't I, Rave? I'm already known as the town killer. Why not add another to my list? For that matter, why the hell is your picture in the book?" "Ellis, you're not going to be able to accept my answer. Ellis, I've never wanted you to be involved in all this. I was seeing Clarice and Bo found out, and he was pissed. Not so much about the cheating, but more that it was a friend of yours that did it to him. He told me he was going to do something to you, and I was scared. I got a note saying you were sick too, but I knew from Clarice that Bo would stop at nothing to hurt you. I didn't know that he was going to have her killed so he could make it look like you did it. There is a hidden organization called Remedy, and their whole plan was to make you look like a killer. But when we hid the body, it messed their plan up. They figured you'd turn yourself in, and it'd be a done deal. That's why I helped so much to try to clear your name, and I wasn't ready to let Clarice go. Jesus, Rave, are you telling me that you were up here at the cave with Clarice after we put her there? Rave just stood up and looked at me as if I already knew the answer to that question. I had a seriously creepy feeling about Rave in this minute, and I also tangled with feeling sorry for him because he needed this love so badly that he'd go to these extremes. Rave, I'm sorry that I teased you about the sheet thing. Sheet thing? What do you mean? Oh, never mind, Rave. Okay, so what the hell is Remedy, Rave? Well, it started with some angry police officers that got tired of criminals walking out the same day that they were brought in. The first one was a fluke. A police officer accidentally killed a criminal, and they covered it up. Once they had gotten away with it, they knew they could do it again, and they could do it for a price. Who killed Clarice? I'm not completely sure because Remedy will not release that information for anyone. I'm going to guess it was Mathers, and he killed 3 birds with 1 stone because he killed her, he hurt me, and he blamed it on you. Well then, who killed Mathers? I did. You did? Yes, Ellis. I killed him because he took Clarice from me, the only one I've ever loved. Clarice and I had something going on for quite a while. How do you think I always knew what was going on before anyone else did? Bo would tell her, and she'd tell me. I loved her, Ellis, and Bo took her from me when he killed her. Jesus, Rave. What if it wasn't him that killed her? Rave completely ignored my question. Ellis, I'm trying so hard to not hate you, Ellis, for this because she's gone, and I'm the butt of you and Chev's jokes. Rave, how could you do something like that to somebody? Ellis, hate can make you do things you never thought you could do. Ellis, it wasn't as hard as you think. I had my mind made up. I hated that guy for what he stood for. What did he stand for, Rave? Well, he thought he was better than anyone else. He excluded people and put people down. He even went out with girls just to get back at someone or to make them feel bad. He didn't care a lick about the girl. Bo went out with Clarice and he didn't care about her at all. Rave, have you asked yourself why the hell she didn't just leave Bo if he didn't treat her right? I'm not sure exactly why she didn't leave, Ellis. She was going to leave him for me, but he killed her before she could do it. Ellis, Bo learned about Remedy from his dad. Remedy supplied me with a high-powered slingshot that shoots a steel ball. It's ingenious, really, because when it's fired, it hardly makes a sound, but it sure packs a wallop. Can't you turn yourself in, Rave, and get me out of this? No, I can't, because the Remedy group won't allow someone to not go through with their hit once they know about the organization, because it could expose them. Ellis, I begged them not to kill you. The whole idea behind Remedy is that you can kill someone and they'll take care of it for you. That is why you've been framed for what's going on. It's either you take the rap for all of this or you're dead. Ellis, I don't know what, but there's something else more that ties you to Remedy. Yes, Rave, but now I have the book and can destroy them. Not really, Ellis. Who are you going to go to? The police force is in on this. Plus, they have Chev, and they'll kill him if you don't bring the book back. Rave, so let me ask you this. How long has this been going on in Cleveland? Like I said, Ellis, this is much bigger than you can even imagine. I mean, hell, this isn't something that doesn't go on in everyday life. I know the USA is the best place to live, and we have our freedom, but you're crazy if you think our government isn't killing people every day. We don't want to know what they're doing and how they're doing it. Don't you notice, Ellis, that people just disappear every day and no one can figure the whole thing out, and soon it's forgotten by most? Rafe, so you're telling me I'm pretty much screwed with this whole thing, that I'm going to prison? I'm sorry, Ellis, but that is pretty much the case, or they'll kill you. Rafe, you are a son of a bitch. Ellis, I think your only ace in the hole is Sarah. What do you mean, Rave? Well, maybe if you threaten to kill her, you can bargain on this whole thing. Tell her dad that they have to let Chev go. or you'll do Sarah in." "No way in hell I'm doing that to Sarah, Rave." "Listen, suit yourself, fellas, but I think it's your only chance." "Rave, you're making me look like a common criminal, and it might hurt my future chances with Sarah. Ellis, you have to go to prison. I think it's the safest place for you." "I don't think so, Rave. Give me your car keys." "Ellis, I can't do that. They're expecting me to come back with a book." "Too bad. You got me into this, and now you're going to help me get out." "Oh, so you're going to put Chev's life on the line?" "No. As long as I have the book, they aren't going to hurt him because the book exposes every one of them. Plus, Rave, if they're going to kill Chev, they already had it in their minds. Killing to them is no problem. And I watch enough TV to know that, even if I give them what they want, they'll kill him and me anyway. Give me the keys, Rave." Reluctantly, Rave gives me the keys, and I put them in my pocket. "Rave, you're going to stay here and watch Sarah for me." "You trust me to do that, Ellis?" "Truthfully, not really, Rave, but I don't have a choice right now.